Gales Creek is the only stream system we have here in the Tualatin that's listed as critical habitat for steelhead. And there's an enormous amount of work that's been done upstream and downstream, both by the Watershed Council, Clean Water Services, the city, a number of different folks that have been doing work. And so this site in particular has been identified as one of the top 10 priority sites within Gales Creek by the Watershed Council to do work. And so the benefits to the broader community is really additive. It's not just this site, but once you have this site along with lots of others, you have increased wetland habitat, you have increased habitat for rearing of steelhead, you have increased water quality in terms of less sediment and nutrients getting into the river, and just downstream of here where Gales Creek kind of comes into the Tualatin River is where the drinking water supply for 500,000 people comes from. Well, it started back actually when George gave us a call. He'd just bought the property to expand his nursery operations, and essentially said, "I'm interested in doing a wetland and stream restoration project. Are you all interested?" And it's part of Clean Water Services' mission to do that kind of thing. And so we had a conversation with George to say, is this a high priority area? Is there a potential for really good benefit? And is there a good business reason for Clean Water Services to do this? And kind of after checking off all those answers, we said yes to almost all of them. The other piece is this is a bit outside kind of where we normally work, and so that's where kind of the role of Department of State Lands coming in, and that partnership really worked out really well for us. I think if you're a landowner really thinking seriously about how some of these kind of markets or payments for ecosystem services can kind of help you achieve what you want on the land, as well as potentially generate some new sources of revenue, we like to think about these really as a new cropping system. So in some ways it's like learning to grow blueberries or like learning to grow corn. You've got to learn how to do it. It's not simple. There's a certain amount of risk and uncertainty, but we like to think we've made huge strides in the last 2 years in making it more straightforward. The other really good news is we've built a lot of capacity in Oregon, particularly in the Willamette Basin. There's people that can help. So we're working, there's soil and water conservation districts, watershed councils, folks like Clean Water Services that have gone through the process of generating credits that can work directly with landowners. And so for landowners, you have options. If you're a landowner like George Crawl, he could probably done this project all by himself if he had the upfront capital to do it, and he was willing to take the risk. He has the capacity and expertise to do it on his own. If you're like George Crawl's neighbor, who didn't have that capacity, your expertise is in growing blueberries, cows, and ryegrass, not in growing wetlands, then working with a soil and water conservation district makes a lot of sense. And so the key things to think of as a landowner is the revenue that you're going to get. How important is that? How important are your kind of overall ecosystem management goals? And then thinking about your tolerance for risk. I mean, these markets right now, there's not extraordinarily clear who the buyers are, when they'll come, and how much they'll pay you. We're hoping that we can, in the next 2 to 3 years, we can fix a lot of that, but we're not quite there yet. The way the crediting works is you look at what's here now, you look at what the site's going to look like in 20 years, and the difference between what it's going to look like in 20 years and what it looks like now, that's the credit that you get. And in order to sell a credit, you have to be selling credits to impacts that are as close by as possible. And in terms of being able to buy credits, you have to avoid as much of the impact as you can, minimize that impact, and whatever you can't, you can go ahead and buy credits for. But you have to have approval from the different agencies to do that. And so this project is largely focused on and driven by regulation, but there's a lot of what we care about in the ecosystem that's not driven by regulation. So for example, if you think about the Willamette Valley with oak woodland or prairie, some of the most important habitats we have on private lands, there's no way to really credit that in a regulated type of market. So we're trying to find ways to do crediting or market-based approaches or payments for ecosystem services that take all those other pieces into account.